What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 2014's E3 Roundup. We're going to be looking at one of the best titles showcased this year, and that is No Man's Sky. And as usual, I'm going to be breaking down all of the information I can find about this game, and guys, I don't know if words can even convey how excited I am for this one. Alright, well, first things first, No Man's Sky is being developed by Hello Games. Now, these are the guys that brought us Joe Danger, and to be honest, the game wasn't even on my radar until researching No Man's Sky. Now, the frontman for Hello Games is a cat named Sean Murray, which basically means he's the managing director of the game. And with every interview, this guy somehow inspires me to believe that every single word he has said about this game is fact instead of hyped, and that has got me ultra hyped. According to Sean, the game draws inspiration from novels from like the 60s and 70s, where the worlds were less often depicted as like bleak and dystopian, and placed more of an emphasis on things like discovery and exploration and other vibrant shit. So these guys don't really consider this game a sandbox. Instead, they prefer to say that it's like a living, breathing universe, and there's a variety of ways to play, and it's left open to the player to determine how. So in the game, they don't really give you any quests or a set of missions to tackle. There is a lore that exists within the universe. He was clear about that. He actually said that the diamond emblem for the logo is something that they call the Atlas, and they said it plays a vital role within the lore, but they're not actually talking about that right now. I don't think he wanted to, but Sean also actually admitted that there's some kind of malevolent force in the game, and it's supposed to drive some of the emergent events you may encounter. I say may because you may not ever actually encounter those events. The claim is that no one's experience is supposed to be the same in this game. Alright, so here's where everything kind of starts to get a little mind-blowing. So everyone starts the game somewhere on the outer rim of the galaxy or the universe. I can't really be sure here though, since they've used both words to describe the game. Anyway, what a lot of people will try to do, they think, is reach the center of the universe, and then the game gets more challenging the closer you get. They actually compared it to games like Dark Souls, where they say most players probably don't actually make it to the end of the game, and even if you do, even if you've played the game for millions of hours, you'll still only have seen an infinitesimally small part of the game. But I don't know, that just sounds so crazy. Like, how far-fetched does that sound? They've really got my interest piqued, man. I don't even know if I believe half the shit they're saying, but I gotta say, they've got me hook, line, and sinker. All they have to do is produce a game that does even half of this shit, and I'll be playing it for just a really long fucking time. One thing that they said is that there is actually a star map. Sean actually called it a galactic map, but again, I don't know if that's universe or galaxy because they haven't been entirely clear on that. Anyway, at first the map will contain no data, and the locations are visible on it, but they just say unknown until somebody somewhere discovers one of those locations, and then the map updates for everybody with that new information. And everything you see in this game is procedurally generated. So that means from the rocks, to the plants, to the wildlife, to the planets, and space itself, no one is ever going to actually see the same thing that you have unless they visit a location that you've already discovered. I don't know how frequently it'll happen, but running into another player will happen, and when it does happen, it'll probably feel a lot more like an event. Instead of like in a traditional MMO where they like funnel players together and put them in the lobbies, they are going to blast you across the universe to the outer reaches, and everybody's gonna work their way towards the center, and when players finally do meet up, there's probably gonna be some interesting shit that happens. Sean Murray said that it's probably not actually going to be easy to find your friends, and that you may have to travel years before you can finally meet them, depending on how far apart you are from each other when you begin. I'm not sure if he meant years in the game or years real time, but either way, it's going to be a long time before you can actually hook up with your pals. Which is fine, because the whole point of the game is to explore and to discover. On every world that you can fly to, there'll be all sorts of shit you can pick up, like minerals and resources that you get off of animals, and I don't even know what else, but you can do whatever you see fit. And they've actually said that you can upgrade your ship, and your suit, and your weapon, and it all just depends on how you want to play the game. Sean Murray specifically said that there was a whole bunch of shit you could do with your weapon besides just like smoking fools. And you can just like scan the creatures or scan for minerals, and he said it was sort of like the tricorder from Star Trek. And that's actually what the upper right display is on your HUD. It gives you the various details about your weapon and your gear while you're in space and while you're on the ground. And the heart-shaped icon in the upper middle is actually a drop-down for the compass, and they just haven't gotten around to showing that yet. And then the upper left portion is the planet you're on and the various readings regarding atmospheric makeup and resource availability and whatever the hell else they might want to add to that. So if scanning and studying shit isn't your thing, you could always just wipe them out and harvest them for shit. And you could even go so far as to commit genocide against an entire species, and those creatures will never again be seen by anyone ever. It's so crazy to think that they are dead serious when they say that the universe is infinite. Every creature will have at least one unique trait that no other creature will have, and they said that the way that this is handled is that they start with the genus of the creature. And from that genus, any number of mutations are randomly generated when a player discovers it. So on one world, a cat would be a cat, and on another world, that cat genus might look something like a lion or a panther, or anything that sort of moves and behaves like a cat. After a player discovers them, these things are actually locked in forever, so unless you, like, obliterate them, any player can come along and see them. God, this game's gonna be fucking awesome! So, while you're going around in your starship blowing shit up, you can basically do anything you want, really. You can get into a dogfight with some other players helping you, or I'm not sure, but maybe they can even fight against you. And space combat is inspired by games like Privateer and Elite, and Sean Murray said that the controls are sort of intentionally arcadey like those games, which I actually kind of like because I've sort of had my fill lately of like hyper-realistic flight sims, and it'll be sort of nice to not have to sit there and focus so intensely while you're flying. That actually leads me to my own question, which I haven't seen an answer for yet. What happens when the player dies? Is there a clone system? Do you wake up in a random hospital? Or is it over permanently? And do you have to start over if it is over permanently? So I'm actually kind of curious to see how that'll all work out. And this game has me curious about everything they've said. It seems so impossible, I mean, to believe all the things that they say the game can do. But then again, the trailer's already shown us things that I didn't even think were possible yet. Like being able to take off from the surface of a world and then escape through the atmosphere into space and then travel through space without any sort of load screen and then fly down to the surface of another world seemed impossible, and then we saw it in that trailer. The game is like everything I've been hoping games could become since I was a kid, and I am beyond excited for it. So what do you guys think? Are you as amped as I am to dive in and hunt some dinosaurs on the way to the center of the universe? Leave a comment and let me know. The game will be available for sure on the PlayStation 4. They've stated that they would love to bring it to the PC as well, but they're not willing to say anything about bringing it to the Xbox currently. This is probably due to that silly parity clause that Xbox is so adamant about keeping, but I'm sure Phil Spencer is working on getting rid of that. Anyway, the game will be available to play soon, hopefully. And they haven't given us an actual time frame, but my money's on late spring 2015. Alright, well, that's all I've got on No Man's Sky, and I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. And please be sure to like and subscribe if you did enjoy it. There's going to be loads more games I'm covering from this year's E3, and lots more content in general. So stay tuned, and I hope to see you guys next time.